Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Cover Drive podcast. And what a few weeks it has been to be a Pakistan cricket fan. Pakistan making it 5 wins out of 5 in the ICC T20 World Cup. If anyone told me this was going to happen before the tournament, I would have never believed them. I would have been happy to take 3 wins out of 5, considering the amount of chaos going on behind the scenes before this World Cup and just the amount of uncertainty around the squad, around so many things, around Babar Azam's captaincy. But what a brilliant performance from the boys. Wonderful consistency throughout. No drama, no commotion, no nothing, no calculations. We didn't have to rely on the net run rate. Though our neighbors had to. Sorry, I had to drop that cheeky dig in there. All in good humor. I'm sure they benefited from our expertise in these net run rate calculations. At least I did see a lot of us offering some help to our brothers across the border on Twitter. Anyways, getting to Pakistan's brilliant performances, I was personally just feeling weird on that final day against Namibia. I'm like, should I be this relaxed on the final day of a Pakistan group stage game? Like, this isn't right. Like, where's all the drama? Where's all the uncertainty? But again, I'm not going to complain. I've been wanting this sort of consistency from Pakistan since I've been a Pakistan cricket fan forever. So it's just great to see the boys coming together like this, showing their mental strength, they're showing their abilities, showing their talent, just putting it all out there and putting the world on notice. To make a quick recap of the games, Pakistan obviously sweeping aside Namibia and Scotland in those last two games. Very professional performances from the boys. Obviously, the usual concerns about the slow starts in the power play, but I would not worry about that. From what I've seen in this tournament, Pakistan have negotiated these pitches in the best way out of any of the teams. जैसे कि ये pitches play करती हैं, I feel like it's very important कि आप शुरू के जो 6 से 7 ओवर हैं, you see them off without any damage, with minimal damage. Because जो पहले 6 से 7 ओवर है, from what I've seen on these pitches, the ball does not come onto the bat as well as as well as batsmen would like. So if you manage to see that phase out, then it's at least I found it to be quite easy for the teams to accelerate from that point onwards. And Pakistan have shown that. They showed it in both games. One thing I'm really happy about is that we got to bat first in both our final two games, which was needed, to be honest, because we can't be expecting to win the toss all the time. Especially it's an element of luck there. If we win the toss in the semi-final, obviously going in and bowling is ideal, but in the very chance that we are put out to bat, I'm glad that the boys got that time out on the field to figure it out, and they did pretty well. I will get into some elements of that as I previewed our semi-final clash against Australia. But before that, we have to preview the first semi-final, which is between England and New Zealand. Both teams who have kind of carved out a niche for themselves when it comes to white ball cricket over the last few years, whether it's 50 overs, whether it's 20 overs. These two are right up there with the very best teams across all formats, let's be honest. But especially in white ball formats, they're something else. New Zealand, of course, being red ball world test champions as well, so they have all their bases covered. While I don't rate New Zealand as much when it comes to T20s, I feel like 50 overs definitely top 3 teams out there easily. T20s is a bit iffy, but at the same time, they got to the semi-finals. They beat India. They gave Pakistan a tough time as well. So they're definitely up there. There's a reason they got to the semi-finals from that group. So when we look at it, and the big shock from that group was honestly the fact that India got knocked out, because whenever we were saying who's going to qualify, everyone would say, oh, India and either one of Pakistan, New Zealand, or Afghanistan. Obviously, Afghanistan having an absolute horror show in this tournament, so I don't think they should have been in the discussion to begin with. Anyways, before I go off on a tangent about India there, we will cover India's T20 World Cup campaign and just their future outlook more in future episodes. There's a lot going on behind the scenes there with Rahul Dravid's appointment, Rohit Sharma being appointed their T20 captain, but that's all I'm going to touch upon for now. Now to preview the semi-final fixture, I think it's looking like a very nicely poised contest. Both teams in there with an equal amount of chance to win, if you ask me, especially looking at the conditions in Abu Dhabi. Either team could do it on their day. England, obviously, with the massive blow of Jason Roy getting injured, and he is an integral part of the way they approach their T20 game, accelerating from the get-go with Joss Butler. Now, there's a lot of speculation as to who's going to replace him. Um, I think that they should go for a straight swap. James Wince has replaced Roy, but there's a lot of speculation that Johnny Bairstow might be promoted in the order, and he would be opening with Joss Butler. But I don't think that's the best approach, to be honest, because I think Johnny Bairstow has found a good spot for himself for these conditions in the middle order. At the top of the order, I'm not quite confident with him performing on these low bounce wickets. I think it's better to just stick with him where he is. He can do a good job there. He can negotiate the spin well at around at number 4 or number 5, wherever they choose to send him. I think he would be a good option to have on either one of those positions. But when it comes to the opening position, I think go in with a straight swap. And what I would do is honestly go in with James Wince. I would drop David Malan because I feel like that's been a huge point of contention. He's been a very polarizing figure throughout this World Cup when discussing the English squad. Obviously, he was the number one batsman in the world in T20s up until recently when Babar Azam took back his throne. But when I look at David Malan, I don't see him performing on pitches like this. I feel like he's too slow to start out. The fact that he's not opening for them anywhere lower, I feel like he's a liability. Number 3, he's a liability. Number 4, he's a liability. And I would not anything lower than that. Obviously, the lower you go in the order, the bigger liability David Malan becomes, in my opinion. So what I would do with England's lineup, and I'm gonna list out my probable lineup for them, and this is my not so my prediction, but what I would want them to go with. So obviously Joss Butler opening with James Wince. At number 3, I would honestly promote Moeen Ali up to number 3, and that's something they did in their final game against South Africa. So it's definitely something they have on mind. At number 4, you would have Eoin Morgan. Number 5, you would have Johnny Bairstow. Number 6, Liam Livingstone. And then at number 7, between Sam Billings and David Willey, I would go with David Willey because he offers England that extra death bowling option, which is an area I feel like they're struggling with. I do believe they're going to go with Sam Billings. At least that's what most rumors are propagating as of now. And I think the chances of them going with James Wince is honestly quite slim too, because all these changes I'm proposing, well, I think they would be ideal for England. I think they might be hesitant to tweak around with the squad too much, especially at this stage of the tournament. Then obviously you have the regular bowling attack of Chris Woakes, Chris Jordan, Adil Rashid, and you have Mark Wood. So pretty solid. One, regardless of which way they go, it's as solid a T20 combination you can ask for in this day and age. England are right up there when it comes to white ball cricket. I would say possibly the finest white ball setup there is out there, considering the way they have so much depth. The fact that they lost Jason Roy mid-tournament, but they do have ample replacements. Obviously, James Wince is not at the same level, but a lot of teams would kill to have someone like a James Wince in their team. When it comes to New Zealand, they would go unchanged from what they already have. So that would be Martin Guptill, Daryl Mitchell, who has been quite the surprise package when it comes to opening the innings. I didn't expect much from him, but he's been a pleasant surprise this tournament. Then you have Kane Williamson at 3, Devon Conway, Glenn Phillips, James Neesham, Mitchell Santner, Adam Milne, Tim Southee, Ish Sodhi, and Trent Bolt. Again, pretty solid 11 on there, and their bowling attack is really good. Obviously, they lost Lockie Ferguson at the start of the tournament, but Adam Milne is an able enough replacement in my opinion. Obviously not at the same level, but you can't really be too picky when it comes to replacing players mid-tournament like this. My concern with New Zealand is that if their openers don't fire, I don't know if they have that ability to get to that 160 plus score, which I feel like on a surface like Abu Dhabi is going to be very important, especially seeing how the games at that venue have panned out so far. But another player who concerns me is Kane Williamson, who hasn't shown much this tournament, but again, He's one of the biggest players in the world. So when it comes down to it in a semi-final situation, I am expecting something big from him. Whether it comes or not is remains to be seen. But yeah, I think New Zealand are going in with quite a solid combination. While I don't rate them much as a T20 outfit, when it comes down to knockouts, it's a game of bare margins. One phase of play can turn a game around in any team's favor. So I think that it's going to be a very close affair. But I think England just have that edge over New Zealand when it comes, and England have that edge over most teams when it comes to being a T20 outfit. I just feel like they're more well-rounded. Even losing Jason Roy at this stage, I think they're very well set up to go on without him and still win this. But it's going to be an exciting match nonetheless. Now that we're done with previewing the England and New Zealand fixture, we come on to the second semi-final being held in Dubai International Stadium between Pakistan and Australia. अभी जहाँ तक पाकिस्तान की बात है, बहुत ही एक शानदार टूर्नामेंट रहा है हमारे लिए. Almost a perfect tournament. Not even almost. It was a perfect tournament. I'm kind of losing track of my words at this point. I've talked about this so much on Twitter Spaces. Like, the more I praise this performance, like I can't do it enough justice, to be honest. When it comes to matches against Australia, specifically ICC knockouts, there are horrors from previous World Cups, of which personally I had experienced the 2010 World T20 semi-final, जहाँ पे सबको याद है माइक हसी ने क्या हालत की थी सईद अजमल की. आज तक मुझे वो ट्रॉमेटाइज करता है, and I just like to pretend it didn't happen. However, this is a completely different Pakistan team. ये वो वाली पाकिस्तान टीम नहीं है जो फील्ड पे उतर के ग्राउंड पे उतर के बिल्कुल फ्रीज हो जाते हैं. लाइक वो मेंटली एक वीक टीम लगती थी. They've shown so much mental strength this tournament. They've shown everyone they're a force to be reckoned with. And I think we're going to see more of the same when it comes down to this fixture. I don't think we're going to lose the mental battle. I think we're well equipped to win, if not win, at least match Australia in that area. I think the only way we're losing this is on the field, on the on-field performance. And on the day, that can swing either way. Pakistan generally has a very great T20I record against Australia and the UAE. I've been lucky enough to watch a game between Australia and Pakistan in the UAE. If anyone remembers, I think this was in 2012 or 2015. Correct me in the comment section. I can't remember which series it was specifically, but it was a T20I in Dubai, which Pakistan won in the super over against Australia. One of the best cricket matches I've managed to witness live. But regardless of that track record, Australia shouldn't be taken lightly. David Warner, someone who's quite familiar to us Pakistanis. He's been, what word can I use here? He's been a real pain to us previously in ICC tournaments, 2019 being the most recent example. Test match mein usne hamare against triple century maar di thi, and he's in form now, and that's a big worry for Pakistan as always. All we can hope for is for another Shaheen Shah Afridi special, and I'm sure he's capable of that. Josh Hazelwood has been the pick of their bowlers in terms of their pace attack. Adam Zampa, great T20I spinner, but hopefully Shoaib Malik can negotiate him in the middle order, and Babar and Rizwan are already good players of spin. And Fakhar Zaman as well. He can be a good matchup for these spinners. So overall, I wouldn't worry about him, but of course, with a spinner like that, he can always be an X factor on his day, and not someone we should be taking lightly. I think one of the key weapons Pakistan has in their arsenal is Matthew Hayden, who has been part of the great Australia sides. It's not only a fixture between Pakistan and Australia, it is also a sort of a battle between two former opening partners in Justin Langer and Matthew Hayden. So it's going to be quite interesting what Haydos can provide the boys in terms of how to undo this Australian team. Obviously, they're not the same team that Australia used to be in the early 2000s, the early 2010s. Obviously, 2011 wasn't their greatest hour, but they won a World Cup in 2015. This isn't the same Australian team as those teams. I don't see them as having that same X factor, but at the same time, any Australian team is always a dangerous prospect when it comes to knockouts. So while I do go in quietly confident, at the same time, I fully understand that Australia is no small deal when it comes to these kinds of fixtures. In terms of lineups, I think both sides are going to go unchanged. So with Pakistan's lineup, I'm not really going to repeat it because we all know what it is by this point. My only change over here would be to swap Malik and Hafiz's batting positions. And if not their batting positions, whatever their entry point in the game is, because we saw in that Scotland game, we've seen throughout the tournament, Malik is your best counter to any team spinning attack. So when Adam Zampa is on, if we lose a wicket, I don't care if Hafiz hasn't come out yet. You send Malik above him, you let him take on the spinner, you let him see that out. And as Hafiz showed against Namibia and against Scotland, he can take on the pace. Like, I don't know when he's going to understand that he's a good player of pace. He's not a great player of spin. He needs to make sure he comes down at 5. That's the only nitpick I have with this team at this point. Even if they don't make that change, I'm not too worried, but ideally I would want them to make that change. Australia would go unchanged from their last game. I will just go through their 11 really quick. So that's Aaron Finch, David Warner, Mitchell Marsh, Glenn Maxwell, Stephen Smith, Marcus Stoinis, Matthew Wade, Pat Cummins, Mitchell Stark, Adam Zampa, and Josh Hazelwood. Again, very well-rounded 11. Can beat any team on their day. But when I try to make a prediction in this game, obviously I have the very apparent bias towards Pakistan, but I think it's going to be a very close game with Pakistan just managing to get across the line. I think at the end of the day, the type of form that we are in, I am ready for Pakistan to face any team. I am not scared of any team at this point. I know it might come off as slightly overconfident, but I'm obviously respecting the opposition here. I know Australia have it in them to beat us, and that could very well happen, but I'm also very confident about our chances in this game. So yeah, that's my preview for the semifinals. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm definitely looking forward to both the semifinals, and I will see you guys after those 2 games, hopefully previewing a final that has Pakistan in it. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. Follow me on Twitter at CoverDriveCrick. Subscribe to the channel, like this video. I will see you all very soon. Goodbye.